there we go. Ranking every single sync pair released in 2024. We've got 100 sync pairs to go through. We're going to go through the sync pairs released from January to June in this video, and we're going to go through the other sync pairs from July to December in another video. As you can see, I've put down every single sync pair here in probably chronological order, except for damage challenge, large, and BP units. The thing is, I have not used over half of these units, which makes it a bit hard to rank some of them, but I'll try my best to rank accordingly based on base kits mainly and sync grids if they have a massive buff in the sync grid. So without further ado, I hope you had a great 2024. We're going to look at the January sync pairs to start off with Wallace and Blacephalon. And to start off, I don't even remember what this thing actually does. So let's go and take a look at Wallace. So this is Wallace's sync grid, and just looking at its pair, it has Strange Flames Mind Blown, which basically increases the user's special move next effect from 0 to 10, which is pretty good. Follow up with Hoenn Analysis, which gives Hoenn Circle and powers up special attack and reduces special attack, which is also pretty good. It activates one of several additional effects at random after using the user's max move. I don't know what that actually means, but one really good thing is KOing an opponent gives you a special attack boost, and also reduces the sync move countdown by 2 after using its sorry, just trying to. There we go. Yep, there you go. Yep, and reduces sync move countdown by 2 after using its max move is also pretty good. Sync grid wise, it has a lot of things with Sun. Obviously, it's a field unit. You can set up Sun on its own, which is pretty good. You got Hoenn Analysis MP Refresh 2, also pretty good. I wish there's like an extension on Hoenn Analysis if that would be possible. Brain Power, obviously pretty good. Charging Suns, one with the Sun is pretty good. Shadow Ball on a roll is pretty okay, but not very helpful. Overall, I would say, based on this kit, it's a solid B. It's not very good, to be fair. Because we have a lot of good units now. We got Singset Leaf, we've got Champion Leon, Arcsuit Leon we got as well, and some other fire types that we'll cover later in this video is also pretty good. So, B tier. Next of all, we got Claire and Drampa, another unit that I actually have no idea what its actual purpose is. Is it this? Yep. Claire and Drampa is a support unit, and it has Twister, X-Defense, Dragon Breath, and you're good. Obviously, Flinch is pretty good, and raises the critical hit rate of all sync pairs by 3, raises attack and special attack by 2 is okay. One very special thing is ignores the power-up effects of weather conditions, terrains, and zones when an ally is hit by an attack move, sync move, or max move. So you can, for example, for a ghost type stage, you can set up a ghost zone, but your opponent cannot make use of ghost zone to attack you. Also, it has restores the HP of all allied sync pairs by 40% when using its sync move. Also, applying the free move next effect to all allied sync pairs when a user's trainer uses a move, which is pretty okay. It's pretty meh for its move as well. Looking at its sync grid, it has Aggravation 1, which is pretty good. Quick Curve, pretty good. Dragon Breath Hostile Environment is pretty good. Hit Para, HP recovery is pretty okay. You got powers up the moves of all allied sync pairs when there is weather conditions, terrain, or zone, which in fact is pretty okay. First 84 is pretty okay. Berserk Punch is pretty okay. But it's just not standing out on its own because we got a lot of good support units. As you can see from Iono and Grusha, we got pretty good support units coming up in 2025, January, which I'm not going to go through this video. We got some really good support units as well. I think this is borderline C, to be fair. I just do not see a reason to use Claire and Drampa because of the better units, and there's really no point in setting up a field because you can always play around with setting up Rain, later, setting up Sun earlier, and playing to your right. And often your opponents are not able to make use of your field effects, except Ghost and Dragon. So, C. Iono is a unit that I have 3 out of 5. Iono is really, really fun to use. Really fun to use. I can probably tell you directly, it's probably S tier. Not Uber tier, but definitely S tier. It can lower special attack. It has Zap Cannon. We can paralyze, flinch, and lower special defense. It can continuously raise the special attack next effect by 1 every time it gets hit. Very fun unit to use. Also has Endure effect. Potion is really good. It has the, what is it called? The Steiner stuff and the Brain Brawn, which can help reduce physical attack moves and special attack damage. Very good unit. Highly recommend. Grisha is next. Grisha is a unit I do not have, so we have to take a look at its kit. Grisha with Satitan. We can look at Ice Fang, Direct Hit All Plus, Absolute Zero Ice Avalanche. What does this do? Lowers this attack and special attack by 3 stat ranks, and it's another alternative for Wide Guard. And also set up Ice Zone, raises special defense and defense by 2 stat ranks, which is pretty okay. You got Fear the Snowy Mountain, reduces physical attack move when there's an Ice Zone, raises the chances of inflicting status conditions, which is flinch, and Impervious is pretty good. Grid Rise, we got what do we have here? Vigilance pretty good, Defensive Question is pretty good. We got Quick Cure pretty good. Ice Zone team status immunity is pretty good. HP recovery is pretty okay. We got Super Interference is also really good. First Sync HP recovery and pretty decent overall. A tier for sure. I wouldn't say it's S because it doesn't do anything very unique. I don't know does things quite uniquely because it can para, lowest per def, lowest per def, lowest special attack, endure, and special attack raising effect as well. Very good unit and quite unique. Grisha is not as unique. We got Ice Zone setters already. We got Iridar, which is pretty good. And it is partially a support as well after the EX Pro implementation. One upside of Grisha is definitely the use of Absolute Zero Ice Avalanche. Alright, looking at Trainer Lodge units. I don't know Vogner is December or what. Well, we're going to rank Vogner first. Vogner is pretty okay. I've used Vogner a couple of times. It has Hen In, and it can lower the opponent's evasionness, and also it can raise its own evasion as well. Pretty good for dodging moves to start off with. Is it this one? Yep. It also has double down, hostile environment, and a slippery one, which is pretty good. I'm not going to go through too much on this. It's not very interesting, but I think it's a very decent B tier unit. But we got way too many electric type sync pairs with blue, ash, red, B tier. Wally is next with Delcatty. I have used Wally a couple of times in those legendary arenas. I'd say he is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. People underestimate Delcatty. It has mini potions, escape artist, group slapdash, quick cure, revenge boost, growl, which is pretty good, lowering attack of all opponents. Let's Win for sure can raise defense and special defense by 2 stat ranks. Also has Look Alive, natural remedy, and healthy buffer. It is a pretty solid free-to-play support. I'd say it's A tier. And obviously, I'm going to try and rank these units in best to worst. So, I'm saying Grisha is better than Wally. Obviously, Wally is not better than Grisha. And obviously, I'm being quite harsh here because we got a lot of good units. That is it for January. Now, on to the February pairs, which we have quite a bit to cover. Before I go on to rank these units, I think I'm gonna quickly mention on what these tiers mean. Uber tier, obviously extremely busted units, really good. S plus is a unit I use quite a lot, and I believe people use it quite often because it's really good. S is slightly worse than S plus, just maybe because there are a bit of some flaws. Just I don't use it that often. People don't use it that often. S tier. A tier is slightly above average. People could use it. People might not use it because they have better units. B is just very mediocre. If you really don't have any good units, you probably choose from the B tiers. And C is do not recommend. Alright, next unit to look at is Chase and Pikachu. And I had a look at Chase just now, which is this. So Chase is a pretty good unit. Looking at the pair, it has Kanto Analysis, X Special Attack on. Also, it has reducing sync counter by 1, raises critical hit rates of all sync pairs by 2. It has inflicting the paralysis status condition, raising speed and evasiveness, and raising defense and special defense of Pikachu. Grid-wise, it has Natural Remedy, you got Quick Cure, you got Endurance, you got Mind Games, Staggering Force, extremely busted, making opponents flinch. You got Kanto Circle Extension, which is extremely good. You've got Unbending, Stalwart, Lith, Endurance, Team Sync Reagent, Redicure, Adrenaline 1, Sync Burst 1, so you can use the train and move again, so you can reduce and sync move counter even further. It is also a sprint unit, which means you can probably get off 2 sync moves very quickly. I think this is an extremely good unit, and I highly recommend. S plus, definitely S plus, because it's just a really unique unit as well. Sprint obviously and support, really good tanking usage. Definitely S plus tier. Probably not Uber. We got the free unit, whatever this person is. I don't even know his name. It's behind. I think it's a bit better than Volkner, to be fair. I'm gonna quickly check who this guy actually is. I don't even remember what the is it a tech? I think this it is. Petty and Pikachu. Yep. Web, we got Discharge, Pika. Hostile Environment, Quick Cure, Lith, and some pretty okay. Paralysis Synergy is pretty okay. First Aid 2 is pretty okay. Static Shock is pretty okay. Nothing too special. And it's a 3-star unit, so what do you expect? Behind Volkner. You can still use it. I don't think it's bad. We got some variety units. We got Volkner and Noctile. A pretty interesting unit, I'd say. So why don't we take a look at this. It's a support tech. Looking at its kit, it has Air Cutter, Potion, Dreamlike Hypnosis, which makes the opposing Pokemon sleep, and also lowers one of the many stat ranks. Also, it can make opponents flinch, confuse, or trap pretty good. Also providing move guard acceleration and raising defense and special defense of all allied sync pairs. It has lowering attack and lowering special attack, preventing allies from sleeping. Adrenaline 1 you got Ghost Guard, you got Natural Remedy, you got Endurance, Fast Track Boost, Potions are pretty good. You got Staggering, which is pretty good as well. You got Team Sync Reagent, which is pretty okay. So as you can see, a lot of usage here, a lot of sleep, flinch, trap, confused, healing, tank, and I think stat-wise, Noctile's pretty okay as well. Yeah, 283, and if it's 6-star EX, it gets up to 323. So it's up there. I think it's behind Iono. It's definitely not as good as Chase, because it doesn't really buff the sides that much, and I think Chase is more tanky. On to your Palatine's seasonal units, starting off with Victor and Gradient. So what does Gradient do? Such a good question. I don't even remember. Another support unit. And looking at its kit, it has Tackle, Citrus Berry, Belch. If you don't know what Belch does is, you need to consume a Citrus Berry and then you can use Belch, which lowers attack, defense, special attack, and special defense by 2 stat ranks and leaves the target badly poisoned. Cooking Prep, which defense and special defense of all allies inputs raised by 2, applies the gradual healing to all allies. We've got a Little Nimble, which reduces the berry by 1 when its HP is below half. Half seconds raises attack, special attack, and critical rate by 1 for all when you use the berry. And Vigilance, which is pretty okay. It also has some pretty good tech. Quick Cure, obviously pretty good. Adrenaline one's pretty good. You got Discombobulate 4, it's pretty okay as well. Gobsmack, Status Immunity, you got Revenge Boost, Dashing Team, which is pretty okay. There's nothing really special, and especially when you have to use a berry in order for Belch to activate only twice, it's not very okay, not too good. I think it's at the top of B tier. Candace and Darmanitan is next. It's an ice type unit. So let's have a look. Candace. This. Looking at its kit, we've got Icicle Crash, Potion, Fighting Spirit, Icicle Crash. I think it always makes it flinch. No. So what this does is the more times you use Icicle Crash, greater the power is, and it always makes it flinch, and it's up to 200%. And Wrap It Up is raises the attack by 4, raises the critical by 3, and gradual healing to the user, which is pretty okay. I mean, raising the maximum power up to 200% is pretty good. So isn't that like up to 420 something base power, which is pretty OP. Obviously, it also has the change of Galarian Form Zen mode, which does it buff its stats again? Hit the gas and soften up. Let me just quickly check. So if I make a 6-star EX and Zen mode, does it not change the stats at all? It doesn't change the stats at all. Oh, I'm wrong actually. Anyway, Double Down Freeze is pretty good. We got Natural Remedy, it's pretty good. Furious Brawn is pretty good. Hasty Hell, something to do with Hell. We got Defense Crush. You got Ice Crush. Aggravation 1 is pretty okay. Haymaker, Vigilance is pretty decent as well. From this, I would say it's more at... It's definitely A. I think it's A. I think it's probably in front of Wally. Yeah. Definitely. Grusha has better utility. Okay, next unit is Alcremie. It's just a pretty bad unit because it's like a free-to-play 4-star. There's really no point in using this guy. It's just Tackle, Dazzling Gleam, Whip It Up. And then Unfortress, Quick Tempo, Team Shop entry. There isn't much tech either. It got Tackle, Trip Up 4. It got Mini Potions, Dazzling Gleam, Gobsmack, First Aid 2. It's just not very interesting. It's definitely at the bottom of C tier. There's really no point of using Alcremie. Alright, we got our first Master Fair of 2024. Gladion and Magearna. Without question, Uber tier. This guy is actually absolutely amazing, even at 1 out of 5. So what Magearna does is Flurry Cannon, which can lower the special attack of opposing by 2 each time it uses a Flurry Cannon. And you cannot get you cannot get a stat drop. You cannot get confused, you cannot get flinch, you cannot get trapped, you cannot be status inflicted. It also critical hit lands more easily. Piercing Flurry Cannon is even more busted. When an opponent has more special attack drops, it increases its power and also increases its special move effect next, which is pretty busted. Not to mention, it also has super duper effective too. Overpower, which is also really good. Super Sync is pretty good. Sync Reagent is pretty good. We got Brain Power is pretty good. Speed to Stink is actually good because you got X Speed Plus is pretty good. And overall, it's really good. The one thing that really makes this unit shine is just give it up already, because it cannot get status drop. You cannot have any stat drops. No status conditions, no flinch, no confuse, no trap. Always crits. It's just a really, really good unit. And Fluid Cannon, or that, where is it? Piercing Fluid Cannon is extremely good. 100% Uber tier. Riley and Lucario is up next. A free-to-play fighting type unit. While we always think about free-to-play units to be bad, but Lucario in this situation is pretty good, being a sprint and strike. One thing that really makes this unit good is, does it show it? Max move. I do show it. Max move. Max Knuckle and Max Steel Spike obviously giving more damage output than you would usually have. Close combat, Dart Hit, Iron Tail, and testing out skills. And pretty good. You also got Max Countdown, Unflappable, and Dashing Team 9. Pretty good. One big thing I really like is Stalwart and Unbending. Usually it's not a big deal, but in this case, because close combat usually lowers your defense and special defense by 1, Stalwart and Unbending prevents that from happening. It also has Bronze Sync 5, which more attack raised, the sync move gets boosted. You got Super Sinker, you got your Max Knuckle, you got your Max Steel Spike, Iron Tail on a roll, we got Ramming Speed, got Quick Cure, and overall, it is a pretty good free unit, given that you don't need to spend any gems to get this unit. This gets a pretty high rank compared to the others. Obviously, it's not Uber tier, but it's a close S. I would say it's here. We got Trainer Lodge Skyla, which I don't even know what this thing even does. I've never used this guy before. Skyla. Is this support? There you go. Unvisant. I mean, it's not a very interesting Pokemon to start off with. Era Ace, Brave Bird, take off time, not very Good thing about it is this thing has Haymaker, Recall Removal 9, and also increases user's physical move plus next effect after using a sync move, which is pretty good. Grid wise, it has some pretty okay things. It got Bronze Sync 3, you got Fast Track, you got Double Down, you got Furious Brawn, you got Super Sinker. Some pretty okay tech on a free 4-star unit. I'd say this is a close A, I think. It's definitely behind here. Anyway, that's it for February. Moving on to units of March, where we have the big guys of Gita and NC Silver. Starting off with Gita, which I have at 3 out of 5. Gita is, without a doubt, one of the best units created for poison types. Unfortunately, not the best of all. The issue with Gita is it's in its grid, I believe, because Gita does not really do too much damage aside from Haymaker. And I think it also has Virulent Toxic, if I'm right. Virulent Toxin, which also powers up its sync move. This is the major 2 grids that actually buffs its sync move. Impervious is also really good. I've seen people use Rock Slide on Glimmora, which I don't do that often. Kit-wise is pretty good. We got Mortal Spin, which makes everyone poison. We got Blooming Mortal Spin, sets up poison zone after using Blooming Mortal Spin. Also lowers the defense of all opponents by 3 stat ranks. Pretty good. It also has Paldea Flag Barrier, Top Champion's Pressure, which turns the fields of play zone into poison zone for the first time and raises the user's attack by 6. And also it got top Champion's Radiance, which increases the user's physical move next effect by 1 when it hits an opponent, which you can get it up to 3. Also increases the amount of move gauge slots needed to use Mortal Spin and Blooming Mortal Spin by 2, and powers up both moves. Except in certain circumstances, successful hits of the user follows attacks becomes critical hits. So I mean the move is really good, but the sync rate is where Gita really lacks. I think this would be a uber tier sync pair. Another thing to note is it has a unique lucky cookie called Unfortress 9, I believe, which, as it says, lowers 1 random stat every time it uses a move, which is also pretty good. As a result, S+. I don't think I can give it to Uber, unfortunately. Silver, on the other hand, is definitely at Uber tier. The one thing that really highlights Silver is Massive Rock Slide, which when you use Massive Rock Slide, it always flinches, which is actually extremely busted. Jolo Passion is also really good, powering up the physical attack move of all allies and reducing physical attack moves. Stone Edge is pretty good. We got Eyes on Glory, which raises attack by 6, and then reduces the user's sync countdown by 1, and then raises the user's accuracy by 1 stat rank. Skill-wise, it got Sandstorm debuted and also extends the duration of Sandstorm, powers up the user's moves and sync with during a Sandstorm, and obviously protects Sandstorm damage for its allies, and decreases the amount of move gauge slots the user needs to use, which is also pretty good. My Silver is 2 out of 5, but looking at a 3 out of 5, it got Johto Circle Johto Circle extension. We got Johto Circle sync move powered up, which is really good. Sand Blaster is incredibly good. Sandstorm increasing physical move next effect is also really good. And it got increase the user's physical move plus next effect when entering a battle, which is also really good. Piercing Gaze is not really necessary. Porcelain 9 when using its trainer move is also pretty good. Overall, Uber tier, but I feel like Gladion has the edge in this tier list. Next unit to look at is Adamant and Ursaluna, which is a unit I do not have, and a lot of people do not have this unit because it's a seasonal. I don't even know what season this is, but Ursaluna has Facade Potion, Hazy Headlong Rush, and Times Are Changing. Basically, raises the attack by 6, critical hit rate by 3, and leaves the user burnt. And then it's a bit like Guts in the main series, and when this Pokemon has less HP, the user's move is powered up, and powers up the user's move when it's affected by a status condition and ignores the reduction of the user's attack during when being burnt. Outrun, which quickly charges the move gauge and powers up the user's sync move when it is affected by a status condition, which is pretty interesting, because usually you would not want to be inflicted by a status condition, but in this situation you would want to. Thinking about the ultimate battle stage of Lucy, when it always wants to inflict the poison status condition, but since you're already burnt, you cannot get poisoned or sleep or freeze, which is actually pretty good. Looking at its sync rate, you got one wounded sync up 9, which is pretty good because your HP is not always full. Haymaker is really good. You got danger damage card is pretty good. You got burn hit, and you got physical move plus next effect when it is burned, which is also really good. Endurance is pretty good. Gritty 3 is pretty good. Potion is pretty important, just in case something goes wrong. You got Pinch Push 3, which reduces the sync counter by 3 when it is in a pinch. Obviously, these are not very helpful, but like it doesn't really matter. It's just a filler here. Overall, pretty good unit because it's quite unique, and you're always guaranteed to be burned, so you don't get affected by other status conditions. I think this is actually a really close S. But obviously, if you're burnt and that means you're at a timer countdown, which you have to take out the opponents quickly in order to finish the battle. So I think it's in front. It's here. I think it's slightly behind Riley. We got Irida and Hisuian Zorark, a ghost type unit. Zorark. So this unit has Bitter Malice, which lowers the attack by 1 stat rank, die hit or plus. Mystifying Bitter Malice, which attack is doubled when the opponent is affected by a status condition, flinch, confuse, or trap, and lowers the attack by 4 stat ranks and resulting in a flinch. Pretty good buddy move there. You got Attack Trap, Blind Spot, and applies the free move next effect to the user, or increases its special move plus next effect when its attack move is successful, which is also a pretty good passive skill. More importantly, it can raise its evasionist by 4 by using 1 trainer move, which evasionist is sometimes pretty important in battles when you're facing against hard opponents. And also you got Blind Spot, which is pretty good. Looking at its grid, you've got Pecking Order, which is good. Very easy to apply as well. Group Slap -9, which raises its speed when Zorark misses a move. Poke Trap 2 is pretty good. Stationary Target 3 is pretty good. Hit interference opposing applying the super effective next effect is pretty good. Mind Boggler is pretty good on special defense. The slight concern is its defense is just not very good. That means if it gets hit by 1 move, it is close to dying, which makes Zorark slightly not as good as Adamant, I believe. I'm gonna put him actually just behind Adamant. Dahilia and Ludicolo, a unit I always see people use, which I do not have. Dahilia is grass and water type Ludicolo. First of all, it has Muddy Water, Teeter Dance, Razor Leaf, and Don't Need to Worry. And it also has max moves, which is Max Geyser, which makes the weather rainy, and Max Overgrowth, which turns the player's terrain into a grassy terrain. Grassy terrain is pretty good. Can heal yourself, power up grass type moves. And Rain obviously is really good. So many Rain teams that people use to deal with water type stages. One thing to really stands out is lowering the type rebuff of all opposing sync pairs. So if you use Max Geyser, the water type rebuff will be lowered. If you use Max Overgrowth, then the grass type rebuff will be lowered by 1. Physical Heat Defense 2, 9 is when using a physical attack move, its defense will be lowered by 2. If you're using Muddy Water, its special defense will be lowered by 2, which is already really good. And looking at this 5 out of 5 grid, it has so many things. You've got your grassy terrain extension, you got interference, sync 9, you got confusion synergy, grass cushions pretty good, easy pickings really good. On the water type side, I think you have Flood Alert. You've got Rain Immunity, Raging Rain. So many things to make this unit actually pretty good. On a roll to lower the accuracy of the opposing is also really good. And yeah, looking at this unit, I think the rebuff is what really highlights this unit. And also, it can summon a weather effect or a terrain effect, depending on the stage, is also pretty good. S+. Tiano and Crawdont is a pretty okay unit. It's just like a what do they call it? Spotlight units that you can scout permanently. It has your, I think it's X Defensor. You got Leer, Night Slash, and a trainer move that raises attack by 4, I believe. It's just not very outstanding, in my opinion. So if you just look at the grid moves, yep, I'm actually right. I knew the exact kit. And Vigilance is pretty good. No attack lowering. And you can also heal when using an attack move. And just, it's okay, I guess. It's not very interesting.
I mean, stealing stuff is pretty good. Natural med is pretty okay. Attack trap is pretty good. Trip up is pretty good. It's just not very, very impressive. Just gonna put him at A. That's it for March.
So now looking at the April units, starting off with Volo. I think Volo and Togepi is probably one of the most interesting units to use in this game. Looking at its kit solely, I have him at 1 out of 5. Sinnoh Solidarity is really good. It's pretty decent powering up. Not powering up, it gives... What does it do again? Powers up the moves and sync move of all allied sync pairs and also reduces attack move and sync move damage taken by allied sync pairs. Masterful Metronome is one of the most interesting moves ever because it generates a random move. I think it's like Zap Cannon, Hydro Cannon, Inferno, Giga Impact, Hyper Beam, one of those moves, and Frenzy Plan. And then what it does is it gives you one of those several effects like Light Screen, Reflect, Status Shield, Status Reduction Shield, all that kind of stuff. Very, very interesting unit to use. Skill-wise, it can turn the field into a Fairy Zone. It can lower one of the target's falling stats, which is attack, defense, special attack, special defense, speed, accuracy, or evasiveness. Accuracy and evasiveness is pretty good. It also powers up the sync moves of all allied sync pairs when a circle applies to the allied field of play, which is also pretty good. Grid-wise, we got Surrendering 9, Overwhelm 9, Satisfied Snicker. We've got Unflappable, Natural Remedy, and Head Start 1. Quick Cure. Togepi is really not for you to use as an attacker, but these debuffs on like Overwhelm 9, Satisfied Snicker, Surrendering 9 is really good. Sinnoh Circle Defense extension is also really good because you get more protection. As a result, I think this unit is pretty good. I think the only downside is this guy's not a tanker. I think that's the only downside, and you wouldn't really use Volo as an attacker either. So it's this unit is really in between. I would say if you really want an attacker, Volo is not your choice. If you really want a guy who can tank, Volo is not your guy either. But its utility is actually really good and really fun. I really love using this unit. I think it's probably somewhere at S. I don't know. Volo is really hard to rank because it's neither attack nor tank, but it has some pretty good utility. I put it at the end of S. Jock and Farigiraf is a unit I do not have, but from what I know, it is a pretty interesting unit as well. Jock has Twin Beam, Lum Berry, Experimental Store Power, and there you have it. This unit is also another really fun unit to use because it can raise its stats by 2 at random when it uses Twin Beam. In other words, I think you raise 4 stats at once, which is also really good. What Store Power does is when it has more stat raised, the greater the power it is. So you can have an incredibly strong experimental Store Power, which is actually pretty busted along with Psychic Terrain if you have. Grid-wise, it has Rising Tide, which more stat rise leads to a more powerful sync move. You got Adrenaline, super duper effective. and you also got your High Five 1. You got Unfortunate Strike 9, Strike Spadef 9. You also got Stacking Strike. Quick Cure is pretty good as well. And I think the biggest thing is Rising Tide. Rising Tide really makes this unit stand out because you're already constantly raising your stats, and Rising Tide makes it even better. Obviously, when you finish using Experimental Store Power, your stats go back down to neutral. But then you raise the stats again very, very quickly, and you can use Experimental Store Power an infinite amount of time, as long as you have more than 10 stat ranks. I think this unit is pretty darn good. I'll put it here. Because he, like, raising stats is just really easy to set up for Jock S+. And now I look at this list. How am I putting like units at S, and then there's the bloody S+ tier, which is actually insane. Volo and Gibble is a free-to-play unit that you can get when you scout Volo for the Trainer Lodge. He's okay. I think it's a solid. It's just a mid A, I think. It's not like a unit you would use because Arcsuit Cynthia is bloody busted. But a couple of things. You've got slow opponent sync, tough sync. You've got Fierce Brawn. You got healthy healing. You got Sands of Time. You got Surging Sands, really good. You got Bulldoze. Sandstorm again. Setting up a Sandstorm is really cool. X Defense. Field of Curiosity. And skill-wise, you got Hunter's Instinct and Sandblaster. So it has a couple of really good sync buffs. And I think it's in the middle of A. I would say it's probably here. Cosplay event. Barry and Heracross, a unit I tried to scout for but failed. Let's see what this unit actually does. Heracross is a bug type. Pin missile, close combat, Spiral Megahorn, and going ahead. And Spiral Megahorn hit all opponents, and the power of this move is not lowered even there are multiple targets. Going ahead reduces the user's countdown by 1, raises the attack by 2, and raises the user's critical hit by 3, and applies the enduring effect. It has guaranteed triple, which is no quarter but worst, which makes you at least hit Pin Missile 3 times. Raises the user's attack and speed by 2 stat ranks, so you can have attack plus 4 without MP refresh. You also got Megahorn. You have Piercing Gaze, which makes sure your move does not miss. Mega Heracross has an attack buff compared to its normal form. However, its defense is really bad, and Spadef is also really bad, unfortunately. Grid-wise, Haymaker is pretty good. Speedster Stink is really good. Impervious is actually pretty good. If you want to use him as a bit of a techie guy, Close Combat Stagger is pretty good. You got Punishing Strike 2 is pretty good, which can lower the defense of the opposing. Ramming Speed if you want. You got Head Start 1. You got Tripping Strike 1. Flappable 1. You got Super Preparation 9 is also really good. Enter Phoebe is pretty good. I would say this unit is pretty decent, and I do have a reason that I want to get him initially. But I think the problem with Barry is if you do not hit your Megahorn 5 times, you find it hard to unlock your Megahorn, and you would really drag behind. So I would say it's high A. High A, low S. Selene and Scizor is a steel type sync pair. And unfortunately, Scizor is not really the star here. Steel Wish is kind of the star. Bullet Punch is pretty okay. Always makes the target flinch. It also restores the buddy move when it's mega evolved. Team Offensive Defense 9 raises defense of all allied synchros by 1 stat rank when it uses that user attack is successful. So raising defense, powering up the user's move when it's in the steal zone, charges quickly when it's in the steal zone. Grid wise, steal zone extension again is already a field unit. Do you really need that? Haymaker is pretty good if you're using Scissor as an attacker. You got Head Start 1, Metallic Surge 9 is incredibly busted. You got Super Duper Effective 2, Defense Crush 9 is really good. Steel Wish and Prefresh 2 is extremely good as well. I think the main thing about this is its Bullet Punch is always allowing flinches, which is incredibly good. I would put Scizor probably. Let's say here. Yeah, that's it for April.
Alright, next is May. And I believe I have made a bit of a mistake in the order because I believe Rika and Poppy actually comes before Barry and Celine. My apologies. So we're going to go actually rank Rika, and Poppy first before we continue. Starting off with Clodsire. Clodsire is one of my favorite units because it's just really easy to use in a good way. So looking at Clodsire, you have Poison Sting, X Special Defense Up, Rampaint Mud Slap, and Think Fast, which you can get Move Guard Acceleration, and you can raise your allies' special attack and attack to +6. Besides, you can also have Team Charge Tank, which is amazing because you can have infinite healing. You can also lower your opponent's stats when Clodsire takes a hit, and critical score 1, which is incredible. Looking at the grid, you have Vigilance, of course. You've got Adrenaline 1, First Aid 4, Water Guard. I have used Water Guard before. Water Guard is pretty decent for water sages like Seabold. You can also use Ground Zone Extension if you need to. And yeah, that's basically it. And also your buddy move can set up Ground Zone and also lower accuracy of all opposing and also poison them. So pretty good. I think Rika, personally, Rika is really fun to use. Personal favorite, one of my favorite units is Rika. But I do not think she's at S+. I think she's at top of S. I love using Rika. As in, to remind you guys again, S just means these are units that people will use if they have them because they are quite above average. A is just slightly above average, B is mediocre, and C is below average. And Uber and S+ is incredibly good. Alright, looking at Rika and Whiscash. Now that is at the other end because Whiscash is quite meh. It's a special attacker with Earth Power, Mud Slap, X Special Attack, and Watch Your Step, raising its critical rate by 2. It also has Dizzying Power, Honor Roll 4, and Dauntless. And Honor Roll 4 is for the special defense lowering from Earth Power, which is pretty okay. It also has Dizzying Power, which is very hard to activate because you have to use Mud Slap, which has a quite low base power. Grid-wise, it has obviously Critical Strike 2 is pretty good. You've got Obscuring Sync 5, which is pretty okay. You've got Brain Teaser, you've got Honor Roll 4 again, and Speedster Sync. These are pretty okay, but I have not seen anyone actually try to use Rika and Whiscash. So, and I do not think Rika is it's not too good. She's just okay. I think she's probably behind here. Very slightly above. Poppy is next. I love using Poppy. I have Poppy 3 out of 5, and Poppy gives me so much joy because of Gigaton Hammer, 540 base power. you can use Gigas and Hammer every other turn. And when you cannot use Gigas and Hammer, you can use Thunder Wave, which paralyzes, and also you can lower the defense of the opposing Pokemon by 2 stat ranks. Always crits, and it has Impervious. Grid-wise, it has, again, the Haymaker, Endurance, Adrenaline 1, Natural Remedy Quick Cure really depends on the stage. You can also use status P move on opposing attack lowering. You can also use Charging Reflection if you need to, Sync Freebie if you need to, Fast Track if you need to, or if you want to use Poppy as a Fairy type user, you have your Paralysis Synergy, super duper effective 5, incredibly good as well. I think Poppy is brilliant. And Poppy does so much damage. Like, it does an insane amount of damage. I love using Poppy a lot. Alright, we're done with Poppy and Rika now. Now we can take a look at... Let's take a look at... I forgot who goes next. Let's look at Larry later. Let's look at Bryson Man and Bellaba first. So Bryson Man is a dark type user. Yep. So Bryson Man has 9 days, which can lower accuracy. Guard Spec, which is pretty decent when you can apply the stat reduction defense effect. Fake Tears, which lowers special attack and special defense by 2 stages, and lowering dark type rebuff by 1. And you can use it twice. That means you can get dark type rebuff to -2, which is amazing. You also have hit rebuff as well, applying free move next effect. You got what's this again? The amount of decrease is doubled for the first time you use this thing with targeting. So doubling the decreased stats is pretty good. You got On the Road 2, which is also pretty good to lower the accuracy. Sync Grid wise, you've got your Mind Boggler 9, you got Sync Thinker, Overpower, you got Satisfy Snicker, Night Days, Move Gauge Refresh is pretty okay. You have Guard Spec, Emperor Refresh if you need to. Trainer Move, Hit and Heal 9 is pretty okay. I mean, and Obscuring Sync 5 is also pretty okay. I think the biggest thing about Zoric is you can actually get to -2 Dark rebuff. But aside from that, he is just a very normal Dark type user. I think here. Borderline A. Low S, high A. Bellaba is a support unit. So Bellaba has Zen Headbutt, Potion, Crit Shield, and Give Me Energy. We do not have a lot of critical shield units. And I actually cannot think of a unit that has critical shield. Like, only critical shield. I think the first one that came out is actually Jasmine. So, having a critical shield unit is already a massive upgrade. And obviously, also, Give Me Energy raises defense and special defense of all by 4 and applies the gradual healing effect. Skill-wise, it increases defense and special defense when there's a field of play. Also extends the duration of critical defense effect when it is applied. Also applying Reflect and Light Screen when critical hit defense is up. And also applying the free move next effect when its attack move is successful when there's a field. Incredible. Grid wise, you have Potion, you got your Aggravation 1 from a Zen Headbutt, you've got Persisting Shield, which extends your Reflect, and Premormination is reducing damage in a psychic terrain. You've got some Persisting Barrier is extending Light Screen, so you can actually adjust your sync rate based on the stage you're battling, which is amazing. You got First Aid 4 as well. Toughen Up, Tighten Up are not very interesting, to be fair. Bellaba is a really good unit. I think it's close to being busted. I'm going to put it at S+, to be fair. Because setting up Critical Shield, Light Screen, and Reflect is pretty busted. Now then, looking at some of these units, Guzma and Plumeria, I from my knowledge, I have not seen anyone use Plumeria. I'm gonna look at Plumeria first. What does Plumeria even do? Plumeria and Gengar. What do you even do? I don't remember. Sludge Bomb, Toxic, Alluring Confuse Ray. What does that do? Lowers the target's accuracy by 1 stat rank. And reduces the user's sync move countdown by 1 and leaving it confused. Also, prove you got guts. Raise the user's speed by 6. Evasions of all sync pairs by 2. You got Grand Entry, Toxic Freebie, and Peasant Gaze. Grid wise, but you got Foul Fighting 9, you got Easy Picking. Toxic Power is pretty okay. Virgin Toxic is pretty good for your sync move. Stop Hitting Yourself 5 is sometimes okay. What else you got? Inertia, it's pretty good. But otherwise, it's just not a very impressive grid and kit and grid. I think it's C. There. High C, low B. There's just no reason to use Gengar and Plumeria. When you have like Gita, you got Single Set Roxy, you've got some better poison types. Guzma and Ariados. What? I don't even remember what they do. That's how bad they are. That's honestly how bad they are, because I don't even remember what they do. Poison Sting. Direct Hit or Plus. Shrugabug. Quick Standing Around. Raises attack and special attack by 2. Increases physical move and special move of all sync pairs by 1 stat rank. It's not even that good. And you got Overwhelm 9, Trip Up 9, and Hostile Environment. It's okay, I guess. Grid-wise, you got Impervious, which is pretty good. Vigilance is pretty good. What else do you got? Sync Damage God is pretty okay. You've got Team HP Recovery after using a sync move. You've got Quick Cure, Natural Remedy, which is pretty good as well. Trading move, Heat and Heal is pretty okay. Aside from that, there's nothing very interesting again. It's like you would not even consider using this unit. That's why no one uses them. It's here. I'll put it here. It's just not very impressive. Alright. Blue and Charizard. So I obviously if you've never done the mixed scout, you would not be able to obtain Blue and Charizard and looking at Blue and Blastoise in the other video. But from what I know, Blue can actually set up Sun, because it has max move of Max Flare, which is a pretty good thing to start off with. Neo Blast Burn lowers the target's defense and special defense by 1 stat rank, and the power of this move is not lowered even there are multiple targets, which is pretty good. You got reduce the sync move countdown by an allied sync pair by 1, raises an allied's attack by 4, which I guess is okay. You've got Kanto Journey Legacy, so cannot miss, always crits. You got your Grand Entry 4 and Speed Entry 4 and Recall Removal 9, which is okay. Grid Rise, you've got Max Double Down 3, Solar Flare 5, Brain Power is good, Mind Games 9 is pretty decent, and Max Team Smarts 9. No, that's not very good. I mean, it has some pretty good usage, I think. And especially when setting up the Sun, you can fire off massive damage. But again, there are actually better fire types now with Leon and Single Suit Leaf. No, the Champion Leaf. So, I say it's here. It is still pretty good, but it's just not good enough to be at Uber or S Plus. It will be a unit you would use if you do not have your Leons or Signature Hilda, or if you do not have Champion Leaf. That's it for May.
Alright, for this part 1, we're gonna rank lastly the June units, and we're gonna leave the rest of these, which is still a lot, for part 2. So looking at June, we've got Cheren to start off with. I have Cheren 3 out of 5. Incredible unit. It has, I think, it doesn't have a lot. I don't think it has a lot in its sync grid, if I remember correctly. But it does have flying rebuff. Yeah, Cakewalk. You've got Head Starts, you've got Grand Entry, you've got Bleak Wind on a row. You've got, from your kit, you've got raise special attack by 4 when entering a battle, always crits. Increasing the user's physical move and special move effect by 2 when using a sync move, and also increasing the physical move next effect and special effect next effect by 1 when its attack is successful. Bleak Windstorm, obviously it's pretty good, hitting all opponents, always hitting. Fly is pretty good when you want to dodge a move as a tanker. Black Gale Bleak Windstorm, lowers speed by 2 stat ranks, lowers the target's flying type rebuff by 1 stat rank. Amazing units. So, for that reason, top of S+. I think it's either Geeta or Cheren. Either one or the other. Bianca, on the other hand, I think, is... I kid you not. I think Bianca is by far the best unit. It might be even one of the best units of this year. Despite it being a strike, it is probably the best unit as a tanker, and also as a debuffer, and also a raising evasiveness and speed, and Unova defense circle. Absolutely amazing units. Staggering form, defense destroyer. You've got Unova defense sync move up, evasive sync up 3. You've got Unova defense extension, natural medi. You've got your where's that unit? Where is it again? Evasion and sync up is pretty good as well. You've got Furious Brawn, and there should be one more. Where is it? I forgot. Move wise, Sacred Sword, Unova Solidarity, White Light Sacred Sword, lowers attack and special attack by 3, and lowers fighting type rebuff by 2. This is actually insane. Lowering it by 2 is pretty insane as well. A status observation raises speed and evasiveness by 1 stat rank for all allies. The will to protect applies Unova circle defense for the first time when you enter the battle already. Piercing the blow is ignoring all passive skills, which is absolutely amazing. The last thing I want to mention is you can actually lower special. Yeah, there you go. Lower special attack and attack by 1 stat rank when there's a circle applied to the ally field of play. She just does everything. Lowers attack, lowers special defense. No, lowers attack, lowers special attack, lowers defense, can flinch, can raise speed, can raise evasiveness, can get a fighting type rebuff. Unova's circle, absolutely amazing. 100% best unit in this year. Close to best unit of this year. Alright, we've got some very niche units. Cheren and Purloin. You got your launch dark type units again. So many dark type units this year. Yeah, it's not very interesting in here. You've got your Speedster Stink 5. You got Dark Pulse Aggravation. Super Duper Effective 2 is pretty okay. Brain Teaser is pretty good. Fake Tears, Dark Pulse. Nothing much. Aggravation 1 and Lith. It's not a very interesting unit again. Just, I mean, you would. I feel like you would not use Cheren and Purloin
when you have better dark types. I think this is probably B. But like, I sometimes use Charon just for lowering Spadef. So I'm going to put it at low A. Because I can see people using Charon to lower special defense if you do not have any other units like fake tiers, like from Bryson Man, from Alcremie, which have Spadef, or Iono, which can lower Spadef as well. Charon has a bit of a usage, but it's a high B, low A, I think. We've got Larry, everyone's favorite guy. Larry is normal type. Why is not flying? I have no idea. Larry had the Dunsparce, one of the best names ever, the Dunsparce. Normal type, obviously not super effective against any Pokemon, which is pretty bad. It has Bullet Speed Hyper Drill, which is the one thing that makes it stand out, which lowers the target's defense by 2 stat ranks and lowers the target's normal type rebuff by 1. Honestly, I don't see the reason to lower normal type rebuff, but if you want to use normal types, there you go. And also you got Plain and Simple, which reduces the user's Sigma counter by 1, move got acceleration, and raises speed of all allied Sigmas by 2 stat rank, which is pretty okay. You've got Working Man's Method, which raises the user's attack by 4 stat ranks, and then ignores the target's passive skills, and then ignores critical hits that would ignores passive skills that would protect the target against a critical hit, and also ignores the target's enduring effect. A bit of a piercing blow here. Also, you've got lowers the target's type rebuff of its weakness by 1 rank the first time the user attack move is successful, which is pretty decent, and powers up the moves of all allied Sing players when attacking a target with a lowered type rebuff. Yeah, it's okay. The Dunsparce's grid. We've got, what do you have? Numbling Blow. You got Paralysis. You've got Endurance. You got Inertia. You've got Hit Rebuff for a free move next effect. You've got Mad Strength, which is okay, not very good. There isn't really much. There isn't really much to do in the grid either. It's more of a rebuffing again and defense lowering. So it's just the utility is just not very good here, unfortunately. S tier for a guy like Larry, but I think it's like I think it's just here. Maybe here. It's just not very good, unfortunately. A tier. Kabu and Santa Scorch. It's I think one of the few units that it actually like Kabu kind of started the trend, which led to increasing resistance to certain types. As we can see from Get Your Mind Moving, which raises defense and special defense of all allied Sing by 2, and then raise the user's fire type rebuff by 1 rank. We've got Blazing Flame Wheel, which what does it do again? Restores the HP of all allied Sing players when the target is trapped. And then you got 10% chance to leave the target burnt and heals, which is pretty okay. It has a Dynamax move, which is Gmax Sentinel, which leaves all opposing Sing players trapped, which is pretty okay as well. You've got Max move, Team Attack and Special Attack +4, raising critical rates of all allied Sing players by 3 after using a move, and also 100% chance to burn the opposing when the user is hit by an attack move, which is pretty good. Grid Rise, we've got Impervious, which is good. Vigilance is good. What do you got? Max Countdown is pretty good. Haymaker is not really, there's really no point. What else do you got? We've got Overwhelm 9, that's pretty okay. Otherwise, it's just not very good either. The problem is, first of all, Santa Scorch is not an attacker, so Haymaker is not very good. Second of all, relying on Trap for your body move to be activated is not very reliable, because you could always, they could actually get rid of the trap quite quickly if you're not paying attention. And also, fire type, increasing fire type resistance is just not very interesting, because first of all, Leon is there.
Leon increases fire type resistance already. And second of all, if you just kill everything within a couple of turns, there's no reason to increase a rebuff, increase the resistance to fire types. I mean, increasing resistance to fire type is good, but we already have a unit that can do, which is Arc Leon. So there's not as much point to that now, unfortunately. I think it's a... I put it in front of Grisha. It's just really disappointing because these are actually good units, but they are just not as good because of power creeps. The last unit to look at... the last unit to look at in this video is Kabu and Torkoal. Kabu and Torkoal is pretty okay, I guess. Ember Fire Spin again, X Defense All again, and then you've got Hump 2, which raises the special attack of all allied synchronous by 2, raises the critical hit rate of all allied synchronous by 1, which is pretty okay. You've got Hit, Interfere, Opponent, HP Recovery 9, you've got Pimple Entry 1, Unbending, which is okay. You've got some stuff here, I guess. You've got Hostile Environment 4, you got Natural Remedy, you got Sync Wall, which is pretty good, which applies to critical hit defense when using a Sync move for the first time. But it's just not very good. That's the problem. It's just not very good, and it's a support. And even with 6-star EX, it's only 287 defense, which is not as good. Like you would not use this unit. B, but it makes sense because it's a 4-star. Anyway, that's it for this video for now. We've got so many more units to rank from July all the way to December, mainly because of BP units, and also we've got your DC units as well, which is a lot to cover. So that's it for part 1 of ranking every single unit. I hope you enjoy, and stay tuned for part 2.